ally charts predict a 47% increase for XRP. If it manages to clinch a 3-day candlestick close over 54 cents, 20 out, this XRP might be about to experience a 47% increase. If the breakout is successful, XRP might soar to 80 cents. Additionally, according to data from Sentiment, since March 24th, XRP whales with between 1 million and 100 million tokens have accumulated more than 400 million XRP, valued at approximately $208 million. Naturally, everyone is watching Judge Torres as the whole crypto community waits for her ruling. If Judge learns the technology, Ripple will win the second verse. This is the main argument put out by lawyer Jeremy Hogan as to why XRP is not a security. He also quotes the precise definition from the Securities Act of 1933 in that discussion. According to him, etc. XRP is the only item on the list that could conceivably fall under the definition of an investment contract out of all the things that are classified as securities, such as stocks, bonds, and certificates of interest. Even the SEC admits as much. Attorney Jeremy Hogan has already informed us of this. I don't believe the SEC will file an appeal if the judge rules in favor of Ripple's. The SEC would not gain from an appeal, therefore the rationale. Because if the case is appealed to the Second Circuit, and the Second Circuit decides against the SEC, that decision now has the force of law. Law is law is law. In fact, it's a really simple and common sense approach to investing and assisting the public. While the US likes to claim that the regulations are clear, I believe that further regulation of the cryptocurrency industry is necessary in the US. The swift decline of the US dollar if the abandonment of the dollar takes off is one thing that is becoming more and more obvious every day. Since we have been flooding the world with US dollars for the past 80 years, they have managed to cling on to them. The fact that they provide kids with necessary items has been wonderful. You know, for those money, they offer us toasters, cars, and copper mines. The issue is that if we discard it, all of those monies would subsequently flow back into America. Inflation is the term used to describe the fact that there are far too many currency in circulation. Simply put, this administration is totally negligent. Saudi Arabia is buying Russian oil at unprecedented volumes and reselling it on European markets to get around US sanctions as a result of its careless behavior. Listen to former South African Presidents Tabu and Becky discuss US dollar dependency and the usage of the dollar as a reserve currency internationally. It is obvious that this is a part of what many nations are stating in order to prevent the fallout from the United States imposing sanctions since you are using their money, to prevent the negative effects of the sanctions that result from that. Let's leave the dollar behind. Additionally, abandoning the dollar appears to be the current global trend. The US dollar has effectively served as the global reserve currency for the past approximately 80 years since the end of World War II. There were very few places you could go in the entire world that would reject the 20. Those of you keeping money should take my free advice and do what has to be done in case you unexpectedly enter gnosis. Due to the fact that this market will change in a few weeks. Usually, indicators used by the World Bank, IMF, UN, and other international organizations to gauge a nation's health are based on its GDP, economic output, or both. However, these measurements are completely fictitious because they don't accurately reflect whether a nation is doing well or poorly. As long as America visits that location, we know that when the US says we're going to install a component, that item will never be known there. Ray Dalio tells us that normally, the collapse occurs gradually and then quite abruptly, which is why Brazilian media is advising people to get rid of their real dollars because the US will no longer accept them. And now, this from Joseph Wu, the foreign minister of Taiwan. Do you consider Beijing's threat to Taiwan to be an act of war? Indeed, I do. Take a look at the military budgets, training regiments, and language that seems to be attempting to prepare for the start of a war against Taiwan. Exists Taiwan today? What is required for defense? We do indeed. For a very long period, we have purchased military arsenals from the United States. Of course, this comes after last week's meeting between the US and Taiwan, which China strongly opposed. Iran and Saudi Arabia, two former adversaries, have now vowed to cooperate, signaling that the US is no longer the world's dominant power. China supports the BRICS coalition's openness in the wake of Tunisia's alleged attempt to join Russia, which also supports Argentina and Iran. In the US, the SEC is expanding its crypto enforcement team with attorneys. The enforcement-centric approach we've been using is obviously not the best method to regulate this industry. A fascinating statistic is that there are $4.5 trillion worth of billionaires in the United States. We could barely maintain the federal government for about 8 months if we seized all of their assets. Perhaps the issue is not the wealth of the billionaires, but rather the spending of the politicians. What can Joe Biden do in the present to address this? Because it appears that the entire globe is working against the currency and us? Yes, there are 2 things, one of which we have been pleading with him to do for a very long time: reduce spending. The second thing is that we must learn to mind our own business. There are different ways of doing things in other nations. They begin to fear us if we enter and begin imposing social policies. In the meantime, El Salvador eliminates all taxes associated to technological innovation for economic growth in the space of just 2 weeks, lowering business, property, and capital gains taxes for the nation's tech enterprises. More positive information regarding Ripple from Ripple President Monica Long. We're thrilled to collaborate with the Central Bank of Montenegro as they investigate the real-world uses of a CBDC or national stablecoin, taking into account utility, effectiveness, security, and most importantly, end-user privacy. The previous few weeks have seen a boom in cryptocurrency activity in Montenegro. As recently as a few days ago, crypto fugitive Dakin was supposedly apprehended in Montenegro. Finally, Coinbase tweets that Flare is followed by XRP. On the Flare network, Coinbase will offer support for Flare. Of course, everyone's main concern is this. Today will mark the start of the airdrop distribution process, which will prevent outbound transfers. Keep checking our Coinbase Assets handle for updates on the Flare token airdrop. I'm sure we're all aware, but I wanted to bring up the latest XRP scam involving the History Channel's Twitter account, which was recently compromised. If you look down here, you'll see that these con artists used the thumbnail from my video as part of their scheme. Complete and utter garbage. Always use caution, my friends. The description box below contains links to everything that is mentioned in this movie. I'll talk to you later.